Number 10. American Civil War. In What If Captain America #1, Captain America first actually appeared in 1863 as a member of the Union in the American Civil War. This version of the Cap didn't actually receive his enhancements from a super soldier serum like he does in the mainline continuity. Instead, after being mortally wounded with an encounter with an exceedingly evil and racist version of Bucky Barnes, he's reborn by a version of Sam Wilson, who was taken in by the Shawnee, and who conjures an ancient eagle spirit that makes both Rogers and Barnes the same on the outside as they are on the inside. His suit was more Civil War era appropriate, wearing a coat, pants, and boots of the era. His classic helmet was replaced by more of a headdress, with a shield made of an unknown bulletproof material. This version of Captain America could actually summon a spirit eagle that would fight on his behalf. The uniform was supposed to represent unity of all the peoples of America, which is what this Captain America fought for. Number 9. Spirit of 76. When the original Captain America and Bucky Barnes went missing in action in 1945, the role of Captain America was kept alive by William Naslund, who was formerly the hero known as the Spirit of 76. First showing up in Captain America Comics number 49, William took on the role after being asked by President Truman. He was given a version of the uniform that was extremely similar to the original. The only real difference is the shield. That wasn't the original indestructible one. It instead was made of steel. William Naslund himself dedicated himself to being on par with the original Captain America. He just didn't have the powers. The suit's main function was to keep the idea of Captain America alive after the original's death. It also explained for comic fans why he was still around in active service after he supposedly died. So there's that. Number 8. Azrael. After the extremely famous Batman moment where Bane broke Bruce Wayne's back, there was a need for someone to take up the Batman mantle. Bruce Wayne's choice ended up being John Paul Valley, otherwise known as the anti-hero Azrael. Due to his mental conditioning, while with the Order of St. Dumas, he was a much more violent Azbat, even allowing people to die. His suit reflected not only his violent tendencies, but the era in the 90s that it premiered in. John Paul created a gray, yellow, and blue battlesuit with red accents. It had flamethrowers, gun batarangs, claws, and a night vision helmet. His violent ways forced the return of Batman, and the sweet suit was abandoned. But some of its capabilities would certainly have been useful in lots and lots of situations. Number 7. Superman Red Sun. We don't actually know a ton about the Batman of the Superman Red Sun story, other than his origin. What I picked up from actually reading this comic is that this version of the Caped Crusader is a bit more of an improviser, making use of what he has more than being able to purchase absolutely everything he needs. His suit and even the Batcave actually kind of reflect this. It's less form-fitting, being more like a coat and snow pants. And he even sports a Ushanka-style cowl. He also had more pockets and pouches all over and is seen with a bat-shaped axe grappling hook type weapon thingy. Due to his position as leader of a terrorist group, he carries bombs alongside his usual gear, and he even had a Batman-shaped dummy somewhere in one of those little tiny pockets. Number 6. Kingdom Come. In the story Kingdom Come, we see a world set 20 years in the future, when the noble, great heroes had mostly all retired, giving way to a younger generation of anti-heroes. Bruce Wayne had his identity revealed and had been crippled by Bane and Two-Face. This, along with his natural human aging, caused him to retire, but it's Batman, and he will never fully be out of the game. He completely turned to the Bat side, becoming the Batman, abandoning his real name and taking rule over Gotham City from his Batcave with an army of robotic Bat Knights. But this is a list about Bat suits. His new Bat suit is a mechanized power armor that allows Batman to fight in hand-to-hand combat despite his past injuries. The suit comes with grappling hooks, lasers, and sharp blades, and it can even allow Batman to fly. If that weren't enough, not only does it allow him to move like he once did, it actually gives him super strength as well. Number 5. The Joker Batsuit. What's the best way to attack Batman? You attack him personally. In the Joker Wars storyline, Joker does exactly that, stealing Bruce's money, his influence as Batman, and his weaponry and equipment. He even steals a version of the Batsuit. What makes this even more of a personal attack is that this suit was meant to be a possible future Bright Knight suit. Joker modified the suit with a big smile over the bat symbol and ha-has all over it. We first see the suit after it is shown that the Joker dug up the body of Alfred and reanimated it with the Joker toxin. Everything he is doing is to personally attack Bruce, and this suit, in combination with everything else, was the perfect way to do that. Its use isn't helpful. Its use is against Batman. Is that cheating? I mean, I don't know. You decide. Number 4. Thanagarian armor. In the DC Justice miniseries, Batman ends up wearing a suit of Thanagarian armor to protect himself from Brainiac's mind control. This wasn't all this super sweet armor could do though. The armor is able to resist punches from Superman, and it's designed for combat against the world's toughest villains. Like a lot of other useful Batman armors, this suit also has a propulsion and wing system that allows him to fly, helping him deal with many more threats. It is also very obviously a callback to the old Batmobile from the 1966 Batman live-action series with the black metal red accent look. It's a shame we don't see more of it. Number 3. Augmentation suit. In a Batman and Robin New 52 storyline, Batman faces off against a villain called Terminus, trying to prevent him from destroying the world. Bruce faces Terminus in a new suit called the Augmentation suit that is equipped inside the Batmobile. While we haven't seen much of this suit yet, it is more agile than Batman's other armored suits, and it's capable of granting the man inside crazy super strength, the ability of flight, and it allows Batman to stop a nuclear missile dead in its tracks, which is really all I need to say. It's an incredibly advanced and strong Batsuit, easily making it one of the most useful. Number 2. Rookie Bat Armor. This point actually technically covers 2 suits. And one is another mech suit. This isn't actually worn by Bruce Wayne. This suit actually appeared at the end of Endgame. The DC story Endgame, not Avengers Endgame, obviously. And is worn by none other than Jim Gordon when Bruce is missing and presumed dead. The super heavy Batsuit and the small stealth suit inside of it were created by Powers Tech for the GCPD. It had digital camo, thermal imaging, an auto defibrillator, enhanced strength, cape-shaped bomb shields, rocket thrust boots, anti-gravity magnets boots, a tear gas cannon, a smoke pulse cannon, decibel defense, and a voice changer. It allowed the former commissioner to take the place of Batman for a short period of time. So yeah, I'd say it's pretty good. Before we get on to the number 1 pick, I just want to say a quick thanks from me and all of us at Top 10 Nerd for watching, liking, and subscribing. Unlike Batman and the Bat family, we appreciate and need your support all of the time, not just when things get difficult. Number 1. The Hellbat suit. So we all know Batman is just a dude in a batsuit. He has to use his ingenuity and skill to defeat threats that metahumans can face one-on-one. But when the threat is too great, the metahumans help him out. Enter the Hellbat suit. Designed by the Justice League core members, the Hellbat suit was actually forged by Superman inside the sun. The Hellbat armor allows Batman to fly, run at super speed, and emit huge energy blasts, while also boosting up his strength and durability. Obviously, it has to have a downside, or there's no reason he wouldn't wear it all the time. It slowly drains Bruce Wayne's life force, and would actually kill him if he wore it too long. There's always a catch. Number 10. Dick Grayson's Batsuit. After the fall of Azrael Batman, Dick Grayson was the next best option, even if it wasn't what either him or Bruce wanted. Grayson made some significant changes to the Batsuit to better the suit to his style and preferences. For example, he said, "No capes!" just like Edna Mode from The Incredibles. No, he didn't, but I wanted to say it. He did actually include a cape, but it was much lighter and had more specific parachute-like functions. He changed the utility belt too, making it metal and streamlined. No longer a big pouchy leather belt, it had mechanical compartments instead. While not useful for any specific moment, it was useful in allowing Dick Grayson to take up the Batman mantle more effectively when he needed to. Number 9. The Hazbat suit. Batman is famous for being prepared for any situation. One such situation would be bioattacks, bioweapons, contagions, and other related issues. Of course Batman has a plan. The Robin named Hazbat suit is a lightweight suit that protects Batman from any airborne contagion. It also has medical scanners that aid Batman in locating the source and counter-agent to any infection he may be affected by. But this suit is not a pushover either, just because it's medically based. It's able to withstand hits from Superman. Seems like a pretty useful suit to me. Number 8. Wedding suit. A bit more of an unconventional pick for a list like this. Back in 2006, during the time of the Marvel Civil War storyline, a wedding took place. A wedding between the King of Wakanda, the Black Panther, T'Challa, and the X-Men, African princess, and some people say goddess, Aurora Monroe. Storm. The event itself was built up for a few issues in the 2005 Black Panther storyline, and in issue number 18, it finally took place. In this event, T'Challa dons a more ceremonial Panther habit, a gold necklace and a gold belt, and the classic cape. This suit doesn't serve a special function in combat outside of serving as a wedding suit, but marriage is its own kind of combat, am I right? Number 7. Ghost Panther. In this alternate reality, called Warp World, the character T'Challa was merged with the character of the Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze. And can I just say how insanely amazing of an idea this is? The arrogant Prince T'Challa is exiled from Wakanda and goes to America, taking up the show name Johnny Blaze. After a fatal accident, Jericho Simpson, which is a warp between Brother Voodoo and Crash Simpson, invokes the demon Zarathos, who is the half-sister of the Panther goddess Bast. T'Challa actually refuses to become the spirit of vengeance at first, but eventually he did. Now, while this isn't really a Panther habit, it is a Black Panther Ghost Rider who rides a giant flaming panther, and yeah, I don't know, I'm not really seeing a downside here. Number 6. Proto-habit. Oh, Deadpool, you silly, amazing character. Okay. So basically, what happens here in Black Panther vs. Deadpool number 4 is that Mr. Poole heads to Wakanda to steal a bit of vibranium to help him heal a mailman. Wade actually ends up grabbing a red ceremonial Wakandan necklace and puts it on to go and make his escape. What he did not know is that this necklace was actually a prototype Panther habit. The suit analyzes his DNA, and since Black Panther has everybody's DNA on file, it remakes itself on Deadpool, adapting to his usual color scheme and the weapons he likes to use, christening himself Panther Poole. Or Dead Panther. No, Panther Poole. Panther Poole's better. It also pretty much brings him up to par with the true Black Panther, which is proven when the two get into it, until Wade's pocket-sized teleporter gets damaged and he teleports to the vibranium mine, which he then teleports to right outside New Jersey. Shuri's suit. As I said before, there was a point in time when T'Challa was attacked by the forces of Dr. Doom, putting him in a coma. The one who took up the mantle of Black Panther was his sister, Princess Shuri. Along with the powers that come with consuming the heart-shaped herb, Shuri also received a Panther habit. None of us should be surprised to know that Shuri herself, while being perfectly capable of hand-to-hand combat, prefers using weaponry and tech. This is reflected a little bit in her habit, which is a bit more tech-savvy. Her tech and weaponry include a truncheon capable of dishing out electric shocks, shock nets, snake bites, which are pellets used to immobilize enemies by releasing knockout gas, and desert sand, which are microscopic sand-like devices that can release an EMP. The claws on Shuri's habit were made of vibranium shells encased by adamantium, which is a little overkill, but nice. She also used to carry standard Wakandan-made spears. She now appears to have Zuri's spear of Bashenga, which belonged to the founder and first king of Wakanda. Number 4. Panther battle armor. Okay, bouncing right off of that, Shuri actually dons another Panther armor during the events of Doom War that I just really want to talk about. Shuri wore a battle mech armor that further amplified her strength, endurance, and durability past its already peak human levels to superhuman levels. The battle suit also had new cool weapons like this pair of vibranium-powered daggers. Some versions of this armor that the Dora Milaje wore have flight capabilities with these really sweet heli drone-like packs. The battle armor also has sensory arrays that made her an even more formidable adversary. Overall, just an armor that boosts the already technologically advanced superhuman to another level. Number 3, Ngozi. Okay, so we've seen Ghost Panther and Panther Poole suits, but what about when the Black Panther is the host for a symbiote? A former track star who was in an accident that paralyzed her legs, Ngozi of Lagos, Nigeria eventually became bonded with the Venom symbiote. After Black Panther was killed by Rhino, who was trying to capture the symbiote, Ngozi and the symbiote instead defeated Rhino. Ngozi was recognized by the Dora Milaje, who took her to Wakanda, where she actually became the new temporary Black Panther. Ngozi herself now had the powers from the heart-shaped herb as well as the powers from the symbiote, so her habit was obviously a little different. Imagine the vibranium-laced armor plus a Venom symbiote suit. Why am I asking you to imagine this? It's a comic, we have pictures. Number 2. Heavenly Armor. This new thrice-blessed lightweight suit first appeared in Black Panther Volume 4, number 13, when he teamed up with Blade to fight vampires, which just the idea of that kind of sounds really cool. But this suit just makes it better. This suit has been consecrated in the name of the Panther God, and alongside the suit, he also wields the ebony blade of the Roman Catholic Church. This suit offers him other defenses and abilities than his regular suit. For example, it defends against attacks of a mystical nature. This Panther habit also allows him to fly if he reaches the right speed. It is also incredibly badass. I just wish we got to see more of it. Number 1. Wakanda Hulkbuster. Everybody knows Tony Stark has the Hulkbuster armor. Incredibly useful for taking on the Hulk if he ever loses control. But what I, and I'm sure a bunch of you didn't know, was that Black Panther has a Wakandan Hulkbuster. And boy, this armor is beautiful. It was created to go up against the new, totally awesome Hulk, Amadeus Cho. Unlike his Bruce counterpart, Amadeus Cho's Hulk is very in control, but everyone and their mums are afraid of what could happen. The Hulkbuster itself has sonic cannons, can fire spore clouds, and absorbs and magnifies energy. The armor eventually fails against Amadeus when he releases an EMP-like blast, rips the Buster's arm off, and rushes off to help his sister. But this armor very nearly brought him down, and all it takes is one story for it to be even more capable. Casper Cole. Before Kevin Casper Cole became the White Tiger, he was a narcotics officer. Seeking a promotion, he and a few other officers began performing unsanctioned drug busts. Casper wore a bulletproof Black Panther costume that he took from his boss, which absolutely gave him an edge. Like when he and his other officers were ambushed by a crooked cop that resulted in the other officers being put in the ICU. Casper was suspended for not wearing his vest, and he posed as the Black Panther for a time to bring down Sal and the 66 Bridges gang. Other than the usual benefits of a Panther habit, Kevin's suit sported a trench coat and many more pockets and pouches as he wielded actual 9mm pistols. I almost want to call it Detective Panther suit. Number 9. Hell's Kitchen. After being ambushed by Dr. Doom, who put T'Challa in a coma, another had to take up the role of Black Panther. T'Challa lost his enhanced abilities, and after the events of Doom War, he rendered all of Wakanda's vibranium inert. So, no powers, no vibranium, and no longer the ruler of Wakanda. How about a vacation to Hell's Kitchen? After being possessed by a demonic entity, Matt Murdock, Daredevil, needed time to recover and rediscover himself away from his home, and he left the defense of Hell's Kitchen to T'Challa. Enter the Black Panther Man Without Fear story. As the now depowered street-level defender of Hell's Kitchen, T'Challa had to rely on the basics, such as his body armor, homemade gadgets, and his fighting ability. This suit doesn't really display its own usefulness. I'd say that instead, it displays the usefulness and ingenuity of T'Challa himself. Number 8. The Captain. First appearing as just the Captain in Captain America number 337, Steve Rogers found himself unable to merely follow orders as a simple soldier, especially after the events of the government that led to him becoming nomad. He resigned the Captain America mantle, even surrendering his shield to the new Captain America, John Walker. He took up a new adamantium-based shield, and with a new uniform, he went on as a subtly different titled hero. His suit as the Captain was black instead of blue, with a red and white striped chest and red gloves and boots. The suit itself did nothing different on its own, but it allowed him to continue fighting as a hero, and eventually it was passed on to John Walker when he became US Agent. Hold up guys, I just want to say a quick thanks for watching. If you could toss your shields at that like and subscribe button, it would really help us out here. Also, while I have your attention, I wanted to just let you all know about Top 10 Nerd on Facebook. If you head over there, you can find more content from us. Alright, enough promotion, on to the rest of the list. Number 7. Bucky Barnes. We spoke about Sam Wilson taking up the Captain America mantle in the last video, but what about when Bucky donned the shield back in 2005? After Steve Rogers' assassination, Bucky got Captain America's shield after defeating Black Widow and eventually confronting Tony Stark, who he held responsible. After a fight, it was decided that Bucky would be the new Captain America. Bucky outfitted himself with an alternate version of Cap's costume built by Tony Stark. The new adamantium laced uniform looked pretty good, with more of a V-shaped flag design. The costume also includes a lot of black, kind of reflecting Bucky's darker nature, or even reflecting the tragic way he came into the mantle in the first place. As Cap, Bucky also wielded a pistol, which is strange to see on a Captain America, but it also makes sense for Bucky's character on the whole. Number 6. Peggy. We all know who Peggy Carter is thanks to the MCU, and if you've seen the What If show, you know alternate versions of her get the super soldier serum in place of Steve Rogers. Logically, this would make her a Captain Britain, which she is one of them as well, but a version of her appearing in Exiles number 3 in 2018 decided to become Captain America. I honestly like her Captain America costume a lot. It looks cool with the collared shirt underneath and with the shoulder straps, but it also plays to Peggy's more tactical approach, more spy and espionage vibes, I think. Plus, it's just a great concept. Number 5. Secret Avengers. When Steve Rogers became Commander Rogers of the Secret Avengers, he adopted a new suit design. It's actually very similar to and was the inspiration for the MCU Captain America Winter Soldier suit. The suit itself is more subtle, featuring a darker blue color with a silver star emblem and stripe design. It reflects the serious, darker tone of both the Secret Avengers stories and that MCU movie. In the movie, it is referred to as the stealth suit and offers more maneuverability and a more Kevlar armored design. It's also Chris Evans' favorite suit. It's a suit that allows Steve to step out of the role of Captain America, always doing what is expected, and instead act as himself and make the tough calls. Number 4. Iron Cap. This alternate version of Cap first appears in Bullet Points number 1. After Dr. Erskine was assassinated, the Super Soldier Serum program had to be scrapped, and Steve Rogers, still wanting to serve his country, agreed to join a program that saw him medically grafted to a giant suit of Iron Man armor. Obviously, this is different from most other normal Cap suits. This suit resembled the first few iterations of the Iron Man armor, with many of its capabilities. The suit, however, took a huge toll on Steve, who even went through rigorous stamina and strength training. He was eventually killed in the suit when he was sent on a mission to subdue the Peter Parker version of Hulk. The story, Bullet Points, is really interesting, serving up alternate versions of characters in interesting ways. Check it out if you have the chance. The art is also amazing. Number 3. Danielle Cage. As the child of Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, Danielle Cage has a lot to live up to. In one possible future, and many others, Danielle exceeded all the expectations by taking up the mantle of Captain America. She was among the heroes who were summoned to the future to end All-Father Ultron's tyrannical reign. First appearing in US Avengers number 1, Danielle herself inherited the bulletproof nature of her father, Luke Cage. So that's one thing that her, and by extension her suit, has over the usual Captain America uniform. But she also inherited the powers of her mother. She's one tough gal. Another interesting point about her is that her shield is a replica of the original Cap shield that is also a voice-commanded drone. But as she always reminds her villains, she doesn't just throw the shield, she is the shield. Number 2. Gladiator Cap. In the battle world, there are many lands that hold mystery and enchantment, but none as much or with as much savageness as the Green Land. First appearing in Planet Hulk number 1, this version of Captain America is a fighter in the battle world Colosseum on the outskirts of Doomstat, and he fights alongside a giant red T-Rex named Devil. That, just right there, is enough to sell me on this comic. This version of Cap wields a battle axe, alongside a shield that I'm assuming is not vibranium, but it takes a beating, so who knows? He also wears battle armor in true gladiator fashion, with long blonde hair and no helmet. He is sent by God Emperor Doom and Sheriff Strange to go into the Green Land, which is basically inhabited by Hulks, and eliminate the Red King, who's a Red Hulk. It's Gladiator Steve Rogers with a battle-bound T-Rex. Just do yourself a favor and check it out. Number 1. Commander A, or Kiyoshi Morales. When a group of 5 Captain Americas from different realities are brought together, we get a look at 2 who have not yet been seen before. But the one I want to talk about here is Kiyoshi Morales, the great grandnephew of Luke Cage and the 25th century's Commander A. His uniform is quite unique, as is Kiyoshi himself, standing tallest and most imposing among the Captain Americas gathered by Toph Key. Instead of a vibranium shield, Kiyoshi's suit can generate energy shields on each arm, similar in appearance to the normal Captain America's. His suit is much more advanced as well, as you'd expect from the 25th century Captain America stand-in. It features a neuro web, which allows him to tap into wireless systems, and it stores information. Number 10. The Arctic Armor. First appearing in Iron Man number 318 in July of 1995, the Arctic Armor was made to withstand the harsh temperatures and conditions of the Arctic. While mainly used by Tony so he could access his secret Arctic bunker, the suit could be used in other cold weather situations, like if he had to fight an Arctic-based villain. Being in Canada, I would absolutely find a use for this suit. For example, I could use it to walk to work without the air hurting my face. Number 9. Hydro Armor. We know that the Iron Man armors all have some underwater capabilities. We saw it in the first Avengers movie, but the Hydro Armor can work at underwater depths of up to 3 miles down, surviving the crazy water pressure that comes with being deep in the sea. I'm gonna be honest, this couldn't be me. The ocean makes me wet my tighty whities, but I guess when you've got like a tri-beam style unibeam, mini torpedoes, electrical field generators, and an octopus style black ink thingy, you are a bit more safe.
At number 8 is the Nomad suit. Unless you're a real Captain America fan or you just spent 2 days researching Captain America suits, you may not know about this one. Basically, back in 1974 in issue 180, Steve Rogers decides he's done with all the politics of being a hero and puts down the costume altogether. In its place, he decides it's time to design himself a brand new suit and go under the moniker of Nomad. And because of his background as a comic book artist, Steve decides to design it himself, using regular materials, and he gives himself a cape. Okay, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, you're probably punching your screen right now. Like, how can a costume made out of like a polyester blend be useful at all for Captain America? But here's the thing, this suit is useful for any time that Steve Rogers needs to go under the radar or blend in with the night. It's also got a lot better mobility than his typical suits without all that bulky armor in his way. So I would argue that throwing on the Nomad suit is probably one of Steve's best options for a truly stealthy suit that he could use for covert operations. No one would recognize him, and even if they did, they might have a harder time chasing him down with what would probably be increased mobility and camouflage in the shadows. A bit of a stretch? I don't know. Let me know what you think about that one in the comments. Alright, at number 7 is his Soldier Supreme suit. During the Infinity Wars storyline, Gamora captures all the souls in the universe and puts them into a soul gem, which also accidentally creates what comes to be known as Warp World. In this dimension, every soul that she captures has fused with another, creating all these beings that are inhabited by 2 different souls each. Not only that, but history is rewritten, including all of these beings as though they'd always existed. And that's where Soldier Supreme comes in, an amalgamation of Captain America and Doctor Strange. And you betcha that this amalgamation gives us a new suit design as well, which looks a lot like what you'd expect, a Captain America and Doctor Strange hybrid. Soldier Supreme's abilities allow him to have a perfect mixture of Doctor Strange's magical powers and Captain America's leadership skills. During the Warp World version of World War II, we see Cap healing downed comrades, while also leading them into battle, making what becomes one of the most powerful and useful iterations of Captain America out there. The only reason why I don't put this one at number 1 is because it could be argued that it isn't the suit giving him these powers but Gamora's spell. But his suit does appear entirely different when he's transformed, and that's enough to squeeze it on this list. Okay, at number 6, we have the Commander America suit, worn by a descendant of the original Captain America, Steve Rogers V. This suit appears in an issue of What If, that poses the question, what if Cap and the rest of the team went up against the Guardians of the Galaxy? This suit has 5 generations of work done on it, giving it some added features that make the suit much more useful than the original, one of which is the space helmet attachment that allows the user to travel in space. This is a useful development considering that there are some major events in the Marvel Universe that take place in the expanse of the cosmos, as well as on other planets with different atmospheres. In a hypothetical situation where Steve Rogers has a closet full of all the suits on this list, past and future, this suit would probably get taken out more often than you might think, for any conflicts that take the team into the void. It's also got some cool chrome shoulder pads as well for when he gets hit in the shoulder. Okay, fine, it's mostly about the helmet. Okay, at number 5 is the Paradise X suit, which is barely a suit at all. It's more of a single American flag wrapped around the naked body of a godlike Captain America. In this storyline, Captain America has died along with other superpowered beings we know, and they are living, or rather existing, in a celestial realm called Paradise X. And instead of the Avengers, they're called the Avenging Hosts. It's pretty out there, but basically Captain America is a ghost type entity with mystical powers in this storyline, and he is able to fly. He's also able to shapeshift and tap into the memories of the other entities in this Paradise X realm. So yeah, that's all well and good that he's super powerful, you say, but how is his suit useful? Well, this one may be arguably one of the most useful suits on the list, considering it's the only thing that's preventing us all from witnessing this supernatural Cap's celestial parts. I'm serious. That's the genuine reason why this suit takes a spot on this list. Sure, I could argue that it supports his supernatural abilities, but we all know it's just a cloth. A very useful cloth that protects this comic book series from an X rating. Useful? I'd say so. Bit of a stretch? Maybe. I thought it was funny. At number 4, we have the 2099 suit developed by Alchemax. On Earth 23291, the Captain America identity belongs to a woman named Roberta Mendez. And in this reality, the Captain America suit is extremely powerful with a few new capabilities that make this suit stand out hugely from the rest. The two main features that really give this suit the edge are the energy wings and the energy sword that the suit is equipped with. Considering Roberta also has the super soldier serum coursing through her veins, everything that comes with the suit is an automatic plus. In the very start of the first issue of Secret Wars 2099, we see a bounty hunter trying to take a shot at Roberta, but is totally overpowered by this new flying ability of hers. And there's no question that anyone wearing the suit can call on these abilities, making these new powers not exclusive to the wearer of the suit, but of the suit itself. So with the types of threats coming at this reality's Avengers, they know that their leader will have no problem in both offensive and defensive stats. This definitely beats out a lot of the other armors worn by any Captain America across all realities. This superhero just isn't often seen equipped with much other than a shield and maybe a sidearm, so energy weapons? Definitely a huge advantage for any Captain America as far as I'm concerned. Alright, at number 3 is the Hydra Supreme suit. In an alternate reality during the comic book event Secret Empire, Captain America is actually a bad guy, taking on the look of a darker, more brutal soldier than his original self. His shield has a more pointed, angular design to it like that of a medieval knight, and the suit brings much more power to the one who wears it. This suit, when paired with the cosmic cube fragments, allows for the user to take control over Mjolnir, Thor's hammer. This, on its own, is enough of a point for this suit to score high on this list, but there's more. This suit also helps Captain America change the course of reality. Yes, this is sort of the cosmic cube doing this, but when paired with the armor, the wearer is also almost entirely impervious to harm. So I'm gonna argue that it's fair in this case. While wearing this suit, this evil version of Captain America actually strategizes successfully enough to take over Washington, D.C. and eventually all of the United States to try and instill his own order. Although his intentions are not by any means pure in this reality, this suit is undoubtedly one of the most powerful that any version of Steve Rogers wears, and for that reason, it deserves a spot on the list. At number 2 is one you most likely have heard of before, but it needed to make it on the list just because of how insanely useful it is compared to the original suit, and that is the Sam Wilson Falcon uniform. This suit is given to Sam Wilson when Steve Rogers wanes off of the super soldier serum and gives up the mantle of Captain America, and it is a huge upgrade. Taking on the abilities of Falcon and Captain America at once, this suit allows for flight and rocket and machine gun fire out of the wings. On top of this, we see how strong these wings can be when used to shield Wilson in battle. This gives the suit the added bonus of a nearly indestructible full body shield made of vibranium, on top of the iconic handheld shield passed down with the Captain America mantle. The shield can also clip into a holster on his back, giving him protection from behind when he doesn't see it coming. This suit is such a major upgrade from the original and could probably be maneuvered by anyone who puts it on, giving it sophistication. So there's no arguing that this suit on its own could be pretty useful to anyone with fighting and piloting skills, and it's probably one of the closest things that Captain America has to an Iron Man suit, other than our number 1, which is the exoskeleton suit. This is an extremely useful suit for Captain America given the circumstances he finds himself in issue 437. Sometime in the future, Captain America has been rendered completely paralyzed after contracting an illness from the super soldier serum. So, none other than Tony Stark designs him a suit that, much like the Iron Man suit, can actually get him up and walking around again, and fighting around again, and in arguably an even more effective capacity than ever before. The suit is designed to offer extreme protection due to the sophisticated armor and some other nifty effects as well, like beams that he can shoot out of his palms that cause severe cases of vertigo, and magnetic gloves and missile protection that offered Cap a lot of good defense against serious threats. Yeah, they're not the most destructive features, but this is actually intentional. Tony Stark decides to keep the suit entirely non-lethal to keep Steve Rogers' values in line, allowing him to face evil without stooping to their level. So not only is this suit useful to compensate for and basically cure his paralysis, but it's also arguably a really great suit to return to if he's ever facing an offensive threat that might require heavy armor. He can also call on the armor to attach to him within seconds because he was, totally paralyzed. But this is also a feature that's basically unprecedented for Captain America and would be useful with or without the plight of full body paralysis. At number 10, we have Justice, FKA Marvel Boy. Although he's known as a pretty well-respected hero, at least in his later years, Justice still doesn't do much for the Avengers during his time with them. When he first joins, he comes off as more of a fan than anything else, making some rookie mistakes right off the bat. He also finds a way to break his leg, which isn't very common for a superhero. Much of his lack of maturity in the group is due to his worship for the other members of the Avengers, so it's hard to blame him, although he does do some pretty good work in planning to take down Ultron. Later, he ends up teaching for the Avengers Academy alongside Hank Pym, Tigra, Quicksilver, and Speedball, but overall, this character's time with the Avengers is wrought with scattered accomplishments and distracting love triangle storylines that just make him a much less effective member of the team. At number 9, we have Sandman. Although his redemption arc is really great and has so much potential, it sort of falls flat. Basically, the Thing one day sits Sandman down and tries to turn him to the good side, and it works. With Sandman now finding his stride as a hero, he first joins the Outlaws, a team of reformed Spider-Man enemies, and is then given a membership to the Avengers. It's all going in the right direction for the former villain until he's promptly hypnotized by Wizard and turned back to the dark side. Honestly, this isn't even Sandman's fault, but his quick turn back to evil gets in the way of him being anything close to a functional member of the Avengers. I almost didn't even put him on the list just because he barely even does anything for the team after he's inducted. And even tragically after that, he even goes off to reform the Sinister Six right after leaving the Avengers Reserve, which basically erases any good he may have done during his time as an Avenger. At number 8 is Sentry, who joins the Mighty Avengers after having one foot in the door of the New Avengers for a while. This guy is a poor addition to the team simply based on issues of power imbalance and, unfortunately, his own mental health. On the power side of things, he's so powerful that he sort of drowns out the efforts of the Avengers as a team, which in many ways is a good problem to have. But on top of this, due to his mental health issues, he tends to have trouble reining in his power set and often second guesses himself. I feel badly for the Sentry, and I only put him on this list because sometimes people just aren't right for a big team. When it becomes clear that Sentry is fighting some internal battles, he is still known as the most powerful member of the team, but just needs to figure himself out first. For example, at one point, Sentry attacks Ultron at a moment when the team needed him to hold back, and sort of ruins the whole plan. Although the attack was in retaliation for Ultron seemingly killing his wife, so it's not that unexpected. It's just one of the many times that Sentry has troubles keeping his composure and taking on the responsibilities of an Avenger. He's not a bad hero, just maybe not right for the best superhero alliance ever created. At number 7, we have US Agent, or John Walker, formerly a stand-in for Captain America. His true colors show when Steve Rogers returns and Walker is renamed US Agent, which is just a bunko name if you ask me. I had to put him on the list even though he does the honorable deed of taking over as Captain America when Steve Rogers goes AWOL and becomes Nomad. He's just a little too intense on the patriotism front and brings the team down as a result. A huge part of Steve Rogers' influence on the Avengers is his ability to shelve the burden of America's unofficial but basically official superhero and keep his intentions focused on acting in favor of others. He's able to put aside his pride and work for the team, whereas Walker does the opposite. He does work for the team, but it's a big lesson in the importance of good attitude because they have the same powers, but something about John Walker's suffocating patriotism and inherent arrogance that comes with it just proves that no one could do the job like Steve could. And once again, US Agent is just such a lame name to take on, unrelated. Especially after having gone as Captain America for a time, it's just, maybe I just feel badly for him in a way. At number 6, we have Swordsman. With the biggest accolade being that he trains Hawkeye, it's hard not to squeeze this guy onto the list. Basically, Swordsman starts off as a circus performer who is known for demonstrating his mastery with bladed weaponry. He was more of a showman than a superhero realistically, and also more of a villain than a superhero if we're being honest. After losing all his money due to his gambling addiction, he decides to steal from the carnival paymaster, and when a young Hawkeye chases him, Swordsman almost kills his own apprentice. And then, fast forwarding, the way that he's eventually admitted into the Avengers is basically through fraud. He teams up with Mandarin and sends a fake message posing as Iron Man to the Avengers to allow himself into the group. And it works. Being a double agent for Mandarin, he later lures the Avengers into a bomb with the intention of blowing them up. Although he does try to dismantle it in a moment of regret, he's still dejected from the Avengers anyway. I think they just sensed he was screwing around with them. He then basically just falls back into a life of crime while picking up a drinking habit along the way. which isn't part of the reason I put him on the list. This is kind of sad. He's a very troubled character and just had some nasty intentions and tendencies. Not the most noble of the Avengers by any means. At number 5 we have Jack of Hearts. This guy is notoriously one of the worst Avengers because his most notable act as part of the team is murdering another one of the members. Although he does this while under the influence of Scarlet Witch, there's no hiding from something so brutal. I mean, the Avenger he kills is Ant-Man, who's a really important member of the team. Aside from this though, Jack of Hearts also just spends such a short time with the Avengers that even his heroic deeds are sort of weak, regardless of the tragedy. Being the 52nd member of the Avengers, he's brought on specifically to help take on Kang the Conqueror. They all team up with the Justice League and a huge battle goes down. And then promptly after this, Jack tragically decides he needs to end his own life for various reasons, taking a villain with him who had killed Ant-Man's daughter. But it's pretty ironic that the next time he makes an appearance, he blows himself up and takes Ant-Man with him. Just a messy run as an Avenger through and through. At number 4 we have Stingray. This guy isn't ever really a true member of the Avengers. He is officially, but he only seems to jump on as part of the group when they need him, like when they need access to his underwater hydro base or when an inverted Doctor Doom brings him on to rescue civilians from a river. He's sort of their fringe friend that they use for water-related issues. Could this be a case of lazy writing? Perhaps. But it seems more like he's not really a strong enough character to do much more than pop in and out of the scene when water gets involved. He also almost fights Iron Man due to a misunderstanding right when he joins the team and even campaigns to have him removed from the Avengers, which is just an awful way to start. At number 3 is Star Fox. This guy is just a bad hero. He's not even really a hero. His powers are extremely problematic in that he can basically gain the love of a woman on command. But it's not really love because it's artificial and it only lasts for so long. So when he uses his powers, these women often wake up not knowing where they are or what they've done, which is naturally a pretty deplorable thing to inflict on a person with your powers. And he doesn't even seem to feel badly after it either. He just gets his clothes on and jumps out the window like, "See you later, good luck piecing together the last 12 hours. Otherwise known as Eros of Titan, this guy is actually Thanos' older brother, so this sort of explains the evil nature of his powers. At least in the comics they're kind of aware of his nasty nature, because the woman who he's used his powers on eventually come out and sue him because of what he does, which has to be a first for a superhero. I'm honestly just surprised that this dude even had a membership to the Avengers in the first place. He just kind of sucks. At number 2 is D-Man, or Demolition Man. This dude should never really have been brought on to join the Avengers. He's sort of just this unmotivated, scraggly guy with a horribly designed suit. He just steals Wolverine's and Daredevil's costumes and makes a tragic mashup of the two. His origins are that he's basically a wrestler that was given superhuman strength before befriending Captain America. When Cap needs to reform the Avengers, he thinks it's a good idea to bring on D-Man to join the team. But this choice is pretty obviously out of sympathy for the guy because he doesn't really do much when he does join. He's then sort of left behind and lost in time, becoming more and more unmotivated as the years go on, eventually living in homelessness before becoming a sort of villain. Not the best track record for even an alum of the Avengers. But I can't totally rag on him. The Avengers have insanely high standards and some people just want to hang out and eat sub sandwiches. So that's D-Man. The number 1 spot on this list goes to Dr. Druid. Having been trained under the same mentor who trained Doctor Strange, you'd think this guy would have gone on to be a great member of the Avengers. Well, at first he wasn't actually known as such a bad hero by his own right, but after joining the team, it becomes pretty obvious that he wasn't destined for greatness. His attitude is arrogant, he carries a lot of insecurity about living in Strange's shadow for so long, and he also has a big weakness to the charm of women, proving him to have a pretty low emotional intelligence. And this is a pretty major fault when you're supposed to be an Avenger because you need to be able to have a strong character regardless of whatever your power set is. This also tends to lead him to be a subordinate to women in positions of power like Captain Marvel, who he continually undermines until his disloyalty leads to her being seriously injured in battle. He then tries to convince everyone to name him the successor as the new chairman. This guy, Dr. Druid, was just kind of a weak-minded fool who was conniving and subordinate through and through. It's surprising he was ever brought on board with the Avengers because he really proves himself to be one of their weakest links while he's there.
Coming in at number 10 is Captain America. No, Captain America is not near the top of the power hierarchy of Avenger heroes. Not by a long shot. But it's not his power that makes him unstoppable. It's his willpower. Captain America just never gives up or backs down when he believes in what he is fighting for. This is one of the big reasons that Steve Rogers has been the leading man of the Avengers. That and his genius tactical mind and his leadership skills. Almost all the Marvel heroes and even some of the Marvel villains will shut up and listen when Captain America speaks, even when those heroes and villains are leagues and bounds above Steve in terms of their power. In addition to all that, Captain America is one of the longest lasting and most popular of the Marvel heroes, and that fact also lends him some points in the unstoppability factor on the publishing side of Marvel heroes. But on top of all of that, Captain America is one hell of a fighter and is incredibly tough with his super soldier serum, bringing him to the very tippy top of the human conditioning and making him a physically perfect human, which has allowed him to withstand some pretty brutal attacks, being frozen in ice for decades, and has virtually stopped his aging. And at number 9 is Spider-Man. Just like Captain America, Spider-Man has the absolute god level of power known as popularity. He is essentially the face of Marvel Comics, and almost everyone who just knows of comic books knows of Spider-Man. Sure, Spider-Man has been defeated and even lost his life, like how he is technically currently not alive, but he always comes back, and there is a very low possibility that he will ever be brought down for good. Plus, now we have Miles Morales as well, who is going to share this spot on the list, even if he's got a few abilities that Peter doesn't have. Spider-Man has got more than popularity though. He is also very inspiring, actually really strong, and incredibly intelligent. He is seen and respected as one of the most righteous and brave heroes around, and his heroic attitude, sense of responsibility, almost perfect moral compass, and quick wit make him beloved by not only fans but other heroes and even some villains. But above all of that, it's his willpower that I think makes him truly unstoppable. Even in the face of certain deaths, Spider-Man will always get back to his feet, which has allowed him to use his incredible abilities to perform truly incredible feats. Speaking of his powers, Spider-Man possesses the proportional powers of a spider, but he's done things that even a human-sized spider would not be able to do, and his spider sense gives him an edge in battle, and that combined with his other abilities has made him next to unstoppable. And at number 8 is Luke Cage. Criminal turned unstoppable superhero is quite the feat, but Luke Cage handles that with grace, becoming a pillar of his community and even eventually becoming mayor of New York itself. Whenever I think of Luke Cage, the word unstoppable is what actually comes to mind. I just think of him as this big brick wall just standing in the way of anyone who would try to harm another person. Luke went through a super soldier experiment known as the Burstein process, which increased his cellular regeneration rate. This means that Luke was given a level of super strength that, with training and experience, has made him strong enough to lift 50 tons. But there have been times where he exceeded this, and his strength lets him perform thunderclaps, leap incredible distances, and he's even been able to grab onto the back of an aeroplane and force it to come to a complete stop. Alongside his strength, he was obviously given superhuman stamina to match, but what most know him for is his nigh invulnerability. Luke's skin, muscles, and bone tissue is about as hard as titanium steel, making him basically immune to bullets and blades. He can withstand hits of around 1 ton and blasts of 150 pounds of TNT, but those numbers wax and wane depending on the story. He has taken hits from people far stronger than himself and survived falls from 90 stories. If Peter Parker is the heart of New York City, Luke Cage is the bulwark. And at number 7 is Wolverine. Of course, an overly aggressive and angry Canadian will make this list. An angry Canadian is already such a rare occurrence that they have to be pretty strong, and Wolverine definitely is. Most people are well aware of Wolverine's abilities thanks to Hugh Jackman, but I am honor bound to explain them anyways. There are 2 things that make Wolverine practically unstoppable. The first would be his adamantium lace skeleton and by extension, his claws. While not a natural occurrence, Wolverine was subjected to the Weapon X program, and for him, he was given the adamantium which bonded to his skeleton, infusing it with his bones, which makes them virtually unbreakable. It also makes his claws razor sharp and gives him added weight and velocity when throwing punches and kicks. Now, if someone were to ever break his bones, which is pretty much impossible, it wouldn't really matter because one of his natural mutations is a healing factor that is only outmatched by a few other characters characters in the Marvel Universe. His healing factor has allowed him to survive a nuclear explosion, being completely crushed by a steamroller, having his heart torn out, brutal and bloody fights with Sabretooth. He has even recovered from a single drop of blood, but he was being powered up at that time. His skeleton and his healing factor are just compounded by incredible senses, superhuman attributes, and general tough guy attitude to make him a pretty unstoppable member of the Avengers and more. In at number 6 is Ghost Rider. Everybody loves Ghost Rider. Doesn't matter who it is, a flaming skull and a flaming mount is just always cool. But not only is he really cool, he's quite a hardy fella. He is essentially impervious to almost all forms of normal damage, or the damage he has sustained, like having his head completely obliterated, didn't actually matter since he just instantly reformed it and didn't even feel it. The Ghost Rider has tanked hits from the Hulk on multiple different occasions and was one of the main heroes called in when Hulk returned for his vengeance on the Illuminati. Since his body becomes a flaming skeleton, most projectiles just pass straight through him or bounce off of his incredibly strong bones. The only things that have ever been shown to actually hurt him are heaven-forged or blessed weapons. Also, because of the divine or demonic energies that empower him, he can basically feel no fatigue or pain of any kind, and if anything were to actually damage him, he can recover from his injuries insanely quickly, almost instantly. But all that combined with his hellfire, soul, and sim manipulation, demonic magic, fallible penance stare, and other insane abilities makes Ghost Rider someone who most villains, and even heroes, fear even on their best days. At number 5 is Carol Danvers. Whether you love or hate Carol Danvers, there is no denying this energy-wielding superhero is an absolute powerhouse. Carol was the head of security at NASA when she was accidentally subjected to the Psyche Magnetron machine, which imprinted her with energy from Mar-Vell's Kree negabands. This basically means she was given superhuman strength that allowed her to support the weight of a dead celestial, super stamina that lets her exert herself for 24 hours before getting tired, superhuman durability to withstand planet-destroying explosions, superhuman agility and reflexes that are next to instant, a regenerative healing factor that exceeds Wolverine's and can be extended to others, self-propelled flight at 3 times the speed of sound, even in the vacuum of space, and flash precognition that allows her to randomly subconsciously anticipate the moves of her opponents. But all of this is somewhat secondary to what is arguably her main power, the ability to control, absorb, and manipulate energy of a whole bunch of different kinds. This extends to let her project her spirit, manipulate molecules, and transmute matter. She can create energy constructs and even boost up her already OP abilities. And at number 4 is the Hulk. It's almost a requirement that the Hulk show up on this list. The gamma-powered Green Goliath has been around for a long time, and ever since he showed up, there are only a small handful of people who have ever been able to stop him without using some kind of magic or reality warping. His infinite strength has a lot to do with that. A strength that grows based on his anger and has never ever really reached a cap, allowing him to destroy entire planets, be a threat to entire galaxies, and being able to shake the multiverse with his punches. It also has a lot to do with his basically limitless dynamic durability, which has allowed him to survive attacks from enchanted weapons, powerful blasts of energy, stronger than ground zero nuclear explosions, the Human Torch's Nova Blast, and he could stand up to forces that could crush adamantium and destroy entire planets. But now, thanks to Immortal Hulk, we know that the Hulk actually literally cannot die, coming back from the below place through green doors. Actually, in that story we even get to see an alternate future where the One Below All uses the Hulk to destroy literally everything in existence. And the Hulk is still showing more and more of his potential, with the reveal of the Titan personality that was able to fire energy blasts and is utter nightmare fuel. And at number 3 is the Scarlet Witch. As a natural conduit of one of the most powerful forms of dark magic, chaos magic, the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, is one of the most terrifyingly powerful beings in Marvel Comics. Using her chaos magic, Wanda has the very powerful ability to alter reality, which she has used to create her own children, bring the Avengers to their knees and even completely end a few of them, and even rewrite all of reality to make mutants the dominant species for a while before wiping a ton of them out. When she was born, Wanda had a natural affinity for magic. Now this was boosted up by the gift or curse, of chaos magic given to her by Chthon, the old god of chaos, which was then boosted up again by the experiments of the High Evolutionary at Wundagore Mountain, which gave her an even deeper connection to magic. She can channel energy from other dimensions and from entities like Chthon, Sidorak, and Morrigan, and is considered to be the nexus being of the universe. Most magic users could make this list, but few of them can do what the Scarlet Witch can do. And at number 2 is Thor. Thor, Odin's son, the Asgardian god of thunder, is one of the most powerful heroes on the Avengers roster. Whenever anyone talks about Avengers level threats, one of the key elements of that is whether Thor can handle the situation alone. In both the comics and the MCU, Thor and the Hulk are repeatedly given reasons to not be able to show up so that certain storylines can actually be compelling. Specifically, I'm talking about Civil War, where Thor had to deal with Ragnarok back home on Asgard, and that was all because if he was on Earth during Civil War, whoever had him on their side would automatically win. Being the son of Odin the Allfather and Gaia, an old god, Thor has all the incredible powers of the Asgardians, but boosted to a whole other level thanks to his mom. As the god of strength as well as thunder, he is one of the strongest Marvel characters, being able to either defeat or stalemate astronomically strong beings like the Midgard Serpent, the Hulk, the Silver Surfer, Gladiator, and Hercules. His stamina lets him basically fight forever, and he's next to completely invulnerable. Not to mention his weather and energy manipulation and the use of his hammer. Even when he isn't in the possession of his hammer though, and is just Thor Odin's son, he is still a force to be reckoned with, and, especially recently, he keeps getting more and more power boosts, like when he was Rune King Thor, or now that he's Allfather Thor, which gives him the Thor Force. And he's gone even beyond that when he became the Herald of Galactus. There's a lot more to Thor, but I think I've said enough. And finally, in at number 1 is the Sentry. With the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, Robert Reynolds, the Sentry, is not just another Marvel version of Superman. In my opinion, he is even cooler than Superman, and you can get at me in the comments for that. The Golden Sentry Serum gave Robert Reynolds more than just the highest level of strength in the universe, the ability to move and fly faster than the speed of light or just straight up teleport, and near invulnerability. The Sentry also has molecular manipulation abilities that have allowed him to defeat the Molecule Man, photokinesis, which allows him to shine brighter than the sun, turn completely invisible, and produce blasts of light from his hands and eyes that could burn the Hulk's skin and level whole city blocks. He also has psionic abilities that he uses to hold himself together, implant his memories in others, erase memories, and stop the Hammer of Thor. He also has biokinesis abilities that have let him heal others, resurrect himself, reconstitute his molecules, and as the Void, give others cancer. Speaking of the Void, that is a whole other dark side to this hero that is intrinsically tied to his existence, which is not only incredibly powerful in its own right and makes the hero 10 times more interesting, but when the Sentry combined with the Void, this godlike being somehow got a huge power boost.
At number 10 is the Yeoman America armor. This costume is introduced in Avengers Volume 3 issue number 2 when Morgan Le Fay uses a reality distortion wave, which turns all the Avengers into medieval versions of themselves. And Steve Rogers' look totally changes as well, with his armor resembling that of a medieval knight. What gives this suit a spot on the list is the fact that it comes with a sword, and considering how powerful Captain America is without a weapon, just imagine what he can do wielding a sword. Now, there are downfalls to the suit as well, like it appears as though it has reduced mobility due to the loincloth thing, the crude knee pads, and the hood. And one might argue that since it's a medieval costume, the shield would be made of a traditional steel or iron instead of vibranium or other reinforced metals. But still, this is a list about useful suits, and there's no doubt a sword definitely has its uses. At number 9 is the original Howard Stark redesigned suit. Okay, fine, you've probably heard of this one, but it's pretty dang useful, so it deserves a spot. Firstly, it's the first time he's given his round shield with the star and stripes, and it's made of, as Howard puts it, all of the vibranium they had at the time of its creation. This means that this suit marks the first time that Steve Rogers has all the freedom he wants to use his shield as a weapon without any recoil from his blows. This suit is also made with carbon polymer flame-resistant materials, a bulletproof helmet, and a utility belt with a gun holster on it. And we all know that in the comics, Captain America doesn't typically have a gun. So this is a huge plus for this suit. This makes this suit a great choice to take out of the closet if ever Captain America is faced with a mission where he might come under fire and have to return some himself. Pretty handy if you ask me.
Number 8. Rescue armor. Thanks to the MCU, many people probably know that Pepper Potts has an Iron Man-like suit. Donning her armor, she becomes the hero Rescue. The armor was secretly designed by Tony for use by Pepper. The suit isn't really built for offense. Its specialties are more emergency search and rescue. The original thrusters don't even create heat, but it does have repulsors and finger lasers. The suit can fly and gives Pepper super speed and strength. It also lets her manipulate magnetic fields. The armor also is capable of generating force fields that are strong enough to catch airplanes, as an example. It generally remains the same in all its iterations, being used primarily for defense, except the MCU suit, which was clearly very offensive. Like, as in it could fight, not that it was offending people. Offensive. You get it. Number 7. Bleeding Edge armor. So the Bleeding Edge armor is a lot like the armor we see in the Infinity War and Endgame movies, meaning it's almost like a liquid armor. It's actually made of microbots, but hey, tomato tomato. The bots can take the form of clothes, other armors, or even beings upon Tony's skin. As well as that, the suit can form a bunch of different weapons. The part about this suit that I think makes it ultimately the most useful is its RT node. This powers both the suit and Tony's transhuman body. It grants him a crazy augmented intelligence and superhuman multitasking and learning abilities. Meaning, it makes the super genius even more super genius-y. Number 6. Ice armor. This armor, more than anything, shows the vast range of Tony Stark's mind. The ice armor came to be when Tony Stark was sent back in time to 1 million BC. Tony had to make this suit out of whatever materials he had around. So at the time, it was a limited amount of vibranium that he turned into batteries and circuitry of his ruined modern armor. The suit defensively was kind of impressive, considering it was able to hold up against a fight with Mephisto, even if it got damaged. The weapon systems were super low tech, like so low tech it fired icicles. I'm sure this was pretty high tech though for 1 million BC. Number 5. Iron Destroyer armor. During the Fear Itself storyline, the god Odin let Tony Stark have access to the forges of Nidavellir to create weapons to counter the Serpent and his forces. Tony created a whole bunch of Uru metal weapons for himself and a group of other heroes. Tony merged the systems of his Bleeding Edge armor with the Uru metal, turning it into the Iron Destroyer. When Odin left back to Asgard at the end of the fight, the powers of the Uru weapons and the Iron Destroyer armor disappeared. So Tony removed the Uru from the suit and gave it back to the forges along with the rest of the weapons to be melted down and reforged into something else. This armor, as well as the other Uru weapons created, were so sweet. If he could have kept it, the armor would have been extremely useful against so many different threats. Number 4. Renaissance armor. The Renaissance armor first appeared in Iron Man Volume 3, Number 1, and was created to be a safe. The Renaissance armor first appeared in Iron Man Volume 3, Number 1, and was created to be a safe armor. Safe from exposure to other suits' power systems that were causing health problems. So yeah, just based on that, it's already much more useful. It had a sonic ramshot weapon in addition to normal sonic weapons, repulsors, pulse bolts, and a unibeam. It had tear gas pellets and a fire extinguishing foam in the left gauntlet. It also had a really cool hamster ball force field bubble thing to protect civilians. It almost seems like it would be a really good riot suit or something like that. Hey y'all, let me stop you for a little word from our sponsors. It's you. Thanks to all your support, we're able to keep bringing you these videos, so thanks a lot. And don't forget to shoot your repulsors at that like button. Okay, on to the top 3. Number 3, the Phoenix Killer Armor. The Model 38, or the Phoenix Killer Armor, first appeared in Avengers vs. X-Men number 5, and was created to counteract the Phoenix. Obviously. So the armor's main purpose was to kill the Phoenix Force. And if you don't know, the Phoenix Force is one of the oldest cosmic entities in the Marvel Universe. It's basically the manifestation of the force of life. It's one of the most powerful and feared entities in the Marvel landscape. And Tony was like, I can kill this with lasers. No. No, you can't. But what you did do, Tony, was split it in 5, which resulted in 5 mutants, Cyclops, Emma Frost, Namor, Colossus, and Magik becoming avatars to the Phoenix Force. Congratulations, you played yourself. Number 2, Model 53. The Iron Man armor Model 53 was made after Tony's normal armor failed to stop an evil clone of Squirrel Girl. So I'm calling this a Squirrel Girl Buster armor, and you can't stop me. Okay, cool. It was made for the single purpose of countering the abilities of Squirrel Girl. It's got a super cute squirrel head, which has a backup of that aforementioned RT node. It's got repulsors, obviously, but they're strong enough to even knock out Black Panther. And it sort of looks like a Hulkbuster armor, which is interesting. When the evil clone defeats all the other Avengers that Iron Man had assembled, the clone uses their weapons to defeat this suit. But if she didn't have that, Iron Man would probably have been able to take the win here. Probably. Number 1, Model 60. This armor is very interesting. You see, its main ability was to be able to switch into its transportation mode, which was, wait for it, a Vespa. A Vespa that Tony used to go on a date with Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp. Get it? Because Vespa is Italian for wasp? Very slick, Tony. Very slick indeed. The Vespa, plus the helmet Tony wears, can form into an Iron Man suit, which it did when the two were attacked by robots sent by Banetronics. It does all the same things an Iron Man suit does, plus it has a cool energy sword, but it turns into a Vespa, which is the best part about this useful armor. Number 10, Stealth Armor. Yes, Iron Man has a stealth suit. Are you surprised? You're gonna say no, right? Right? There are many iterations of this suit, but just for the sake of this video and my sanity, we are only going to cover the first one. This appeared in Iron Man 152 when Tony used the suit to infiltrate the Heaven's Hand Fortress. Now, the armor itself prioritizes stealth over everything else, meaning it isn't really meant for combat. But to make up for that, the suit has a radar absorbing coating, ECM jamming, and a plasma force field thingy to distort radar and sonar. It had stealthy flight capabilities, and eventually it also had camouflage. Later iterations were much more advanced, but this is probably one of the more useful suits for many different circumstances. 9. Endosim Armor. I saw some of you guys suggest this one, so I wanted to give it a spot. The Endosim Armor is a super slick and capable version of the Iron Man armor. A lot of you have probably heard of it, but whatever. This armor first fully debuted in the Superior Iron Man story when Tony's moral axis was switched. The suit is based off of symbiote biology, meaning the process of the liquid metal suiting up is completely psionic. It's basically almost alive, not having its own intelligence, but can form into an armor without the user inside of it to command it. Tony can even send the suit out onto another person to protect or trap them. The repulsors are uber powerful. It has rocket boosted punches, can absorb electromagnetic energy, and it's not weak to sonic attacks like most symbiotes. It's also super stylish. Number 8, High Gravity Armor. I like this one. Even if its design is goofy, it's something I think would actually need to be taken into account. This suit was made to help its wearer withstand the increased gravity conditions of hyperspace travel, helping the body keep blood in the limbs, not just the torso, and those huge feet helped with moving around. The suit helped Tony withstand 50 Gs, but his actual limits haven't really been explicitly mentioned. It didn't stop Tony from passing out from G-Lock though, and it definitely didn't stop him from puking, but it cleaned him up and disinfected him, just like a good friend after a party. Number 7, Cold Iron Armor. Everything in the War of the Realms related stories is just so metal. The Cold Iron Armor first appeared in Iron Man Volume 5, number 24 back in 2014, and came to be when Tony was on a stealth mission in the dark elf homeworld of Svartalfheim. The armor itself is actually worn over top of another suit, and it's completely made of iron. Iron is actually a metal that is lethal for dark elves, so it's kind of weird that Iron Man wasn't the first one called, but this is actually an Iron Man armor. Like, actually iron. Its weapons include a fireable iron hook, a cloud of iron nails, and these super sweet iron claws on each arm. Just look at this thing. Number 6, Godkiller Armor Mark II. Bet you didn't know that Tony Stark had a celestial-sized suit of armor powered by 8 nuclear reactors that is just casually orbiting Mars. Or I guess if you read Avengers Volume 8, Number 5, you would. This armor entered the fray when the Dark Celestials attacked the Earth and battled alongside giant versions of She-Hulk, Thor, and Ghost Rider. While there are other versions of the God-Killer armor, this one is my favorite. And the fact that it was kept orbiting Mars just in case really feels like something Tony Stark would do. Number 5, Deep Space Armor. This is probably the one armor on this list that most people have heard of. This suit was created when Tony Stark took a vacation from Earth and went out into space with the Guardians of the Galaxy. The suit can use an autopilot in emergencies and even allows Tony to control suits hundreds of light years away back on Earth. It's a modular suit too, allowing for things like enhanced back thrusters and wrist-mounted explosive launchers. It even has an extension that allows for lunar landings. It can travel at warp and sub-warp speeds, which is useful for space travel. Just overall for space travel, this suit is the most useful of all the Iron Man armors. 4. The Ablative Armor. This armor was pretty unique. It consisted of tons and tons of little honeycomb-shaped tiles that are all held together by a force field. The idea was that the tiles would break on impact, better absorbing impacts that a solid piece of armor was less useful for. Anytime a tile would be destroyed or fall out of the force field, it would be replaced by another tile, which is good for a suit of armor. These tiles could even separate from the armor itself and be used as projectiles or as countermeasures. Overall, it's just an armor with so many unique and useful capabilities, and I hope we see more of it. Hey you nerds, before we get on to the top 3, I just wanted to say a quick thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying the video. If you are, why not hit us with a like and maybe subscribe? It really helps us out to continue giving you videos. Alright, moving on. Number 3, the Nano Iron Man Armor. Now this is a bit less of a traditional armor. When battling Fin Fang Foom, Tony initially used the giant Fin Fang Foom Buster armor, but when that failed, he instead shot a pod of thousands of Nano Iron Man armor microbots into the dragon thingy's blood. The bots were then remotely operated to investigate Fin Fang Foom and then fight his antibodies and travel to his brainstem, where the armors were used to destroy the control disk. Nanobots are a technology we're trying to develop in the real world to solve thousands of problems, mainly medical in nature. So this is an extremely useful armor. Number 2, Thor Buster Armor. Now most people know about the famous Hulk Buster suit thanks to the MCU, and just because it's awesome. But did you know Tony has made a Thor Buster armor as well? There are actually a few Asgardian-based Iron Man armors, and they are all extremely awesome and useful. But to me, an armor to counteract the God of Thunder directly seems the coolest. He used the armor to go toe-to-toe with the God of Thunder, who is already massively powerful. But Thor was actually boosted up by the power of the Odin Force at the time. The armor was able to manipulate Asgardian energies like the Odin Force, which served Tony well. He was even capable of stopping Mjolnir mid-fight. Unfortunately, Thor destroyed the suit's reactor, forcing Tony to eject. But if this armor could trade punches with Odin Force Thor, it would be extremely useful facing any Asgardian related threat. Number 1, the Virtual Armor. This suit is probably the most unique of all of Tony Stark's armors. It's also the most recent suit on this list. The virtual suit first debuted in Iron Man 2020 Volume 2, Number 5, when Tony Stark had his consciousness pulled out of his body to save his life, and it resulted in the virtual armor, which was made from the resources of the 13th floor, which is basically a virtual reality built of solid light. Look, it's hard to explain, okay? The virtual armor could allow Tony to create any weapon he can think of. It augmented his strength, it protects against weapons fire, and it's invisible by default, acting as almost a force field around Tony. It can separate to form a prison-like bubble. The suit even somehow still allows him to fly and protects him from the vacuum of space. I have no idea how it works. Like, at all. And it's the most comic booky thing I've ever heard of, but its almost limitless possible capabilities easily make it the most useful Iron Man suit.
Number 10, the Long Halloween. The Batsuit from The Long Halloween has become almost as iconic and well-loved as the story in which it appears. In The Long Halloween, we get to truly see Batman shine as a brilliant detective, which is a huge part of his character and what fans love about him. The Long Halloween suit is fairly powerful as it comes with Batman's iconic yellow utility belt, but the overall color scheme for it is a touch darker than usual, making it even more appropriate for stealthing around in the dark. Something that you likely want a Batsuit to be really well designed for, considering how much it's a part of Batman's general strategy for disarming and taking down criminals. Starting off light, I give The Long Halloween 1 pouch out of 5 for my personal beltometer ranking, which I'm gonna do throughout this list just because I think it's funny and I want to. Number 9, Earth 1. On Earth 1, Batman's suit can plug into a state-of-the-art advanced computer system that he keeps in his Batcave. This system allows him to run criminal checks and also process criminal analysis. Within his utility belt, he also has a plethora of tools and devices to be used in the field. The Earth 1 suit provides Batman with all the items that he needs to unleash the full potential of his investigative skills and helps to enhance Batman's already impressive fighting prowess. It's a standard suit, but one that gets the job done and works well. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I give the Earth 1 suit 2 out of 5 utility belt pouches. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists like it where we talk about all the various bat suits.
Number 8, the Canadian Spider Suit. In an alternate reality, first seen in Cosmic Ghost Rider Destroys Marvel History Volume 1, Number 6, Ben Reilly wore a suit that differs a little bit from its blue and red counterpart. This suit had a black and red color scheme. The aesthetic webbing looked very suspiciously like plaid. It had brown leather gloves and boots, and the chest spider symbol was inside of a pinkish white maple leaf-like shape. I can't possibly tell what they were going for here. Oh, you know what? Yeah, it's a Canadian Spider-Man. Other than the aesthetic, Canadian Spider Ben Reilly is exactly the same as his 616 counterpart, but way more apologetic and probably slightly more resistant to cold weather. Number 7, Threats and Menaces suit. TNM, or Threats and Menaces, is a news website in New York City, and after a long time of being unemployed, Peter Parker accepts a job there. They give him a new suit that can record his perspective as Spider-Man and broadcast it live, giving viewers a first-person view of Spidey's battles, essentially turning Spider-Man into a streamer. It 100% defeats the purpose of being a hero, and if he wasn't doing it because he had no job at the time, I think it was kind of sleazy, but it's also kind of really awesome. Like, I definitely watched that. The suit also got a new, really cool white, blue, and yellow color scheme and enhanced his strength and speed. If that wasn't enough though, the suit also has holographic abilities and every few minutes includes a word from TNM's sponsors. Number 6, Spider-Man Earth 71928. On Earth 71928, Peter's life remained pretty much the same as Earth 616 Peter until Uncle Ben died, and Peter killed the robber who shot him. In a very Punisher-like decision, Peter decided to deal with crime by any means, meaning he killed criminals. Peter tried to avoid this at first, but since criminals be criminals, and that life is kind of hard to leave behind, they always came back, and gosh darn it, Peter was not okay with that. Yeah, a great reason to be a murderer, man. He carried the pistol that took Uncle Ben's life, as well as other weaponry with multiple different types of ammunition. His suit also took a skull logo instead of the traditional spider logo due to the spider that gave him his powers being a noble false widow, which has a cephalothorax that looks like a skull. Yeah, okay, Marvel. You know, I'm seeing a lot of Punisher parallels here. Strange. Number 5, Upgraded Advanced Suit. The Advanced Spider-Man suit in the Marvel Spider-Man video game always deserves a mention, but it's literally on the cover of the game. So another armor native to that game though comes to mind. That's the Upgraded Advanced Suit. Peter creates this armor out of the same material that Dr. Otto Octavius created his cybernetic limbs with. While he originally made this suit as a side project, it became extremely useful when Doc Ock became his sinister self. The suit allowed Peter to be able to actually stand up to his old mentor, and it looked really good doing it. All black metal-like material with the yellow eyes and the spider symbol. After I beat the game, I definitely used this as my main suit, and you know what? It's actually worn on top of the advanced suit, so I'm kind of hitting 2 spiders with 1 stone here. Number 4, Spider-Man Carnage Doppelganger. We all know Spider-Man had the awesome Black Venom symbiote suit, but did you know Miles Morales had one too? When he was forcibly bonded with a symbiote by Carnage, the resulting suit is a corrupted looking version of Miles' already awesome suit, with a jaw, splashes and spirals, and ripped gloves and boots. It also changed colors when in a fight. Just like Peter, Miles eventually got control of the suit, changing its look with red streaks under the eyes. Also, the spider logo was skinny and the legs extended and wrapped around the shoulders and thighs. This suit was both useful and detrimental. All the perks of having a symbiote bonded suit, but also with all the cons. It didn't last as long as Peter's run with the symbiotic suit though, which sucks when you know how much better it looks. Don't kill me in the comments for that. Hold up. Hey, before we carry on, I just want to say thanks. Thanks for being you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hitting that like button. And if you did it, thanks for subscribing. It means a lot to us here. Okay, now let's carry on before I get too sentimental. Number 3, the black cloth suit. After Peter Parker defeated Venom and removed the symbiotic suit, his girlfriend at the time, Black Cat, gave him this black cloth Spider-Man suit that was thankfully not a symbiote. Her reasoning was that, well, to put it plainly, she thought he looked sexier in the black suit. Hey, we all know black is sexy, okay? He was initially resistant to the idea, but he had to wear it because his other suit shrunk in the wash. Yes, that's the actual reason. Peter Parker problems, am I right? Really, it was because fans loved the black suit. I am one of those fans. The black suit and his traditional suit were swapped in and out from time to time, and the black suit was even his primary suit for a while when the other one was destroyed. This suit was useful for Peter as his girlfriend loved it and fans loved it. Oh, and it was really good for stealth and intimidated the hell out of bad guys. Yeah. Number 2, Fear Itself suit. If you don't know about the Fear Itself story, well, change that please. It's an awesome story. Basically, the brother of Odin, who is evil, returns and sends these magical Mjolnir-like hammers to Earth that corrupt heroes and turn them into his chosen. That's a ton of power, and the heroes really struggle to quell that threat. Tony Stark and the dwarves of Nidavellir team up to create Uru armor and weapons for a bunch of heroes. Spider-Man was one of those heroes. The suit had 2 gauntlets on each wrist, which were equipped with blades on each arm which could be used as melee weapons. It also changed the color scheme to a neon-like blue and white scheme. It was really sweet looking. Unfortunately, we don't really know the full capabilities of the suit as Odin ordered it and the other Uru weapons to be destroyed after the conflict. But it had to be extremely useful against the Asgardian level threats because they won. Number 1, Superior Spider-Man suit. Fans of the character will know that the Superior Spider-Man is actually Dr. Otto Octavius, who switched bodies with Peter Parker. After Peter died in Otto's body, and Otto was shown the experiences and memories of Peter, he decided to become an even better Spider-Man. Part of that process included creating a new suit. The modifications to the suit weren't just aesthetic. Otto added a heads-up display on the lenses. All of the fingers on the gloves have retractable claws on them, and the big toe on both boots is separated from the rest of the boot, and both have retractable talons, which is kind of weird. He also added carbonadium in the mask to prevent mind switching. He added a built-in communications device to activate nano spider tracers, and created spider arms on the back. When Peter came back, surprise, he used the suit with energy weapons and extra arms in order to defeat Itsy Bitsy. Yes, that's a villain. This suit was much more advanced and also looked pretty awesome. Number 10, Spider-Man Noir. This one is coming in at number 10 because people in the comments will tell me it's very well known. Yeah, I know, but it's awesome. So, I don't know, deal with it. On Earth 90214, Peter Parker modeled his spider suit after his Uncle Ben's World War I air pilot uniform. But I mean, no, he modeled it after being totally awesome. With that trench coat and the fedora hat, the goggles, the vest, he even carries a pistol. He used what he had in the 1930s to create a spider detective. You love it, I love it, we all love it. And it always deserves to be talked about when we talk about Spider-Man suits. Always. Number 9, the Bombastic Bagman. If you don't know about this suit, you're welcome. It has appeared twice. Both times are equally hilarious. The first time it ever appeared was when Peter removed the symbiote costume with the help of Reed Richards and Johnny Storm, and had no choice but to put on an extra Fantastic Four costume, but those costumes don't have masks. So what did he do? Make a new one, I hear you say? Don't be silly. No, no, no. Johnny poked eye holes in a paper bag and put it on Peter's head. But that's not all. Oh no, no. It seems as though someone placed a kick me sign on the back of the costume too, as if it wasn't all embarrassing enough. Adam, how is this useful? Because it's hilarious. Oh, and it's a really great last minute costume idea to keep his identity secret. Yeah, that's why.
Okay, number 8 goes to the SP//DR suit. Kinda says spider in a fun way. This suit is featured in the hit animated movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but was first introduced in the comic event of the same name. The suit is controlled by Penny Parker, who's taking over for her late father, who used to man the suit. What's interesting about this armor is that it's partly controlled by a living radioactive spider that lives within it. And to use the suit, Penny has to get bitten by the spider, which she dutifully does. The suit is massive, offering tons of protection, and it shoots extra durable webs out of its integrated web shooters. And a suit that's mechanized and able to shoot webs even stronger than those of the original Spider-Man comes in handy when facing off against bad guys like Penny's universe's Mysterio. In a big face-off, the suit proves useful when Penny is able to avoid the effects of a nauseous gas emitted by Mysterio, so it seems like the suit also offers some pretty effective filtration. Not the most versatile suit, but an interesting one that might come in pretty handy in certain situations. At number 7, it's the stealth suit, also known by fans as the big time costume. After facing off against the new Hobgoblin in the Amazing Spider-Man number 649 and 650, Peter goes back to Horizon Labs where he'd been working a day job and designs the suit to be better, well, suited for the fight. This costume is extremely useful in that it's got a few different settings for different matchups. In camo mode, the suit turns green and keeps him invisible both visually and audibly to anyone who he doesn't want seeing him. This means that through certain lenses held by his allies, the green outlines can be seen, so they know where he is in battle. The other mode is called anti-sound mode, which turns the suit red, and it cancels out all sonic-based attacks like the new Hobgoblin's supersonic attacks. The suit also has anti-metal spiders that can shoot out the top of his wrists that will eat away at and dissolve metal. And the suit can also repair any tears in the fabric at the command of the wearer's thoughts. At number 6, we've got Spidey's Future Foundation costume. This suit is designed by the Future Foundation, which is kind of like the revised Fantastic Four, and it has a really cool black and white finish. But that's not what this list is about. The suit is also extremely handy and implements some pretty futuristic technology known as third generation unstable molecules. This technology allows Peter Parker to switch from the black and white look to the classic red and blue, or even his civilian clothes in an instant with just a thought. The suit also can't get dirty due to the unstable molecules, which is pretty cool. But the most useful part of this suit is probably its stealth capabilities, which allow Spidey to go almost completely invisible. This feature is particularly useful when he needs to swing around at night without being seen. It's just a great suit that helps Peter Parker's already formidable powers to shine even more, and it's just one of the coolest looking ones, in my opinion. Okay, number 5, we've got the Spider-Man 2099 suit. This spider suit has a cape. Yes! It's kind of small, but it's a freaking cape. First worn by Miguel O'Hara in Spider-Man 2099 number 1, this suit was originally designed for Miguel to wear at a Day of the Dead celebration. Yes, this suit was meant for partying, but very soon became much more than that, with an upgraded version actually incorporating jet boots. I think this is such a cool addition to a Spider-Man suit because it makes a lot of sense to enhance his swinging capabilities. It's also got GPS sensors, allowing the wearer to navigate around the city effortlessly. Sadly, in the newer iteration of the suit, the cape was scrapped, but in its place are these tiny web wings that allow the wearer to glide a bit more in the air. This suit is just a lot of fun and would be very useful for day-to-day crime fighting around the city because it allows this Spider-Man to reach new speeds in the air, and I would imagine longer times between web swings. It also just looks really cool again. Okay, fine, they all look cool, but I just have to say it still. Okay, at number 4, we've got the Iron Spider armor created by Tony Stark. In many realities, Peter Parker either turns down this suit or retires it quickly for various reasons, but thankfully, he does make use of it a few times. We've all had the pleasure of seeing how this suit looks in all its 4K MCU glory, but what's really great about this suit is what it can do. Firstly, the most notable feature, visually speaking, are the mechanical spider arms, which are actually called Waldos for some reason. These arms actually have cameras on the tips of them to peer around corners, and small grippers built to the end of the tips so they could act as extra arms for climbing and getting around. The suit can glide as well, allowing Spider-Man to move around a bit in the air, and underwater, because the suit also has a state-of-the-art mask filter that allows for nuclear, biological and chemical filtration, as well as 8 minutes of clean oxygen if the wearer needed to explore something underwater. There are so many more things to cover as well. This suit is basically just as protective as the classic Iron Man suit, and with all these extra abilities, it just adds so much more power to Peter Parker's already impressive abilities. Alright, at number 3 we've got Spider Armor Mark III, otherwise known as the Ends of the Earth suit. This suit is created in Horizon Labs by Peter Parker as a last resort to help take down the Sinister Six. But I guess Peter works well under pressure because this suit is insane. Starting with the helmet, it has super hearing capabilities designed to pick up on Chameleon's heartbeat. The helmet could also communicate with Spider-Man's fellow teammates in battle with a comm link system. It also has a holographic sensor allowing the wearer to see through Mysterio's holograms and illusions, and it's capable of repelling Electro entirely, turning him back into human form on command, which is pretty cool. The suit allows for Spider-Man to fly with jet boosters and enhances web shooters that allow the user to fire more webs than the typical suits. Not only that, but the utility belt on the suit carries multiple cartridges of different types of webbing, also spider tracers and ice spiders. And listen, I'm leaving out a few things for time's sake too. Listen, the only reason why this suit doesn't take number 1 is because its abilities were catered pretty specifically to the feat of taking down the Sinister Six. So, in other cases, it might not be quite as effective as it is facing off in this specific scenario, but that's only one small fault for a very useful suit. Pretty nuts. At number 2, we're graduating from the term useful and veering more into absolutely overpowered with Spider-Man's Captain Universe suit. Alright, fine, this isn't really a suit per se. Like, it's not something any old Peter Parker could slip on and off, but it's still a suit and it's still extremely useful. This suit was created when Spider-Man was involved in a lab accident, but unlike the radioactive spider situation, this time he's actually given what's called the Uni-Power, making him one of the most powerful Spider-Man characters we've ever come across. He's got Univision, which endows him with a sort of cosmic consciousness, allowing him to sense things not just coming at him in the macro world, but he can sense things on a subatomic level, bringing the Spidey senses to a whole new meaning. This power also allows him to get people to tell the truth, which is pretty handy, I'd say. In Captain Universe form, Spider-Man can also manipulate energy, allowing him to fly. And above all this, the actual suit allows Spider-Man to withstand extremes in temperatures, allowing the wearer to traverse basically any environment on Earth and possibly beyond. He also has enough strength to punch the Hulk into orbit. And yes, it may be arguable that this isn't the suit allowing for this kind of power, but the suit and the powers kind of come together in this instance, so it remains on the list. Okay, at number 1, it is the Amazing Spider-Man suit, or Spider Armor Mark IV. Okay, here we go. This suit can detect magic, infrared and X-ray beams, scan injured people to determine their injuries, and even detect plasma levels in blood to help administer first aid on a superhuman level. And in this iteration of the Spider Armor, the different webbing is available not by switching out cartridges on a waistband, but by voice command. So the wearer just has to say the word and the web shooter will go from shooting regular webs to electrified webs to concrete webbing, which is a web with such strong durability that it was able to stop an Aztec god in its tracks. The suit also has an array of defensive capabilities like administering antidotes if the wearer comes into contact with poison, as well as stealth and camo abilities as well. I'm missing so much just to keep this one short, but it's fair to say that this suit is the most widely useful as of posting this video, and I just can't wait to see what comes with the Spider Armor Mark V, which starts our list at number 10 with Spider-Man's Bulletproof Suit, or Spider Armor Mark II. This suit is designed when Peter Parker loses his spider senses, which we all know would make him much more susceptible to bullets specifically. So instead of taking a break and hiding away for a while, or being too heroic and going out and getting shot, Peter just creates a new and improved spider armor to face off against Massacre, a mass murderer. Massacre had captured a bunch of hostages, but when Spidey swoops in, he makes easy work of the killer by easily deflecting his bullets. The suit's magnetic webbing also interferes with the villain's ability to remotely activate traps, which I'm not sure was planned or not, but hey, the suit comes through again for Spider-Man in that way too. This suit was very useful for this very specific situation, but sits back on the list just because there are simply much better suits coming up. Okay, at number 9, we've got Spider-Man's Electroproof suit. This suit was created in Amazing Spider-Man number 425 in an effort to get a one-up on Electro, a villain who we all know has electric powers. The reason why Peter Parker hadn't come up with this idea before is that it just didn't seem necessary, as Spider-Man could usually find ways to outmatch Electro. But this time, Electro had found a way to supercharge himself and become even more powerful than ever before. So, Spider-Man decides to design a brand new suit which also just looks really cool. Although it was first presented in the comics, the suit can also be used in 2014's The Amazing Spider-Man 2 video game for PS4.
Number 8. Exoframe. The Dark Knight Returns Batsuit, known sometimes as the Exoframe Batsuit or the Powered Batsuit from Frank Miller's story featuring an old Batman facing off against an old but less aged Superman, is a tank of a suit. I mean, it has to be, because it has to help compensate for Batman's more advanced age, and it also has to make up for the power imbalance between Bruce and Clark so that he doesn't just get smooshed straight out of the gate, but can actually hold his own against the powerhouse that is Superman. This is a much more armor-based and durable suit. It also comes fully weaponized with some tricks that Batman can utilize to help him in his fight against Superman. Ultimately, the suit isn't enough to let him win the battle, unless of course his whole plan was to just put up a good show and feign defeat in the end, which based on the ending of this story seems extremely likely. I give the Dark Knight Returns Batsuit 2 pouches out of 5. Number 7. Plated. The plated Batsuit comes from Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy and is the new suit that Bruce has made after the Nomex suit leaves him wanting more flexibility. Batman can't turn his head in this suit, which of course means he has to rely on peripherals in combat, and he jokes, makes it hard for him to back out of the driveway. Lucius Fox, in response to Bruce's complaints on the Nomex suit, helps him by designing the plated suit. This suit is composed of more separate pieces, which give Batman added flexibility, agility, and speed. It's made up of hardened Kevlar plates on a titanium-dipped fiber, with his cowl's new design being based on that of a motorcycle helmet, granting him increased flexibility in his neck so he can actually, turn his head. Batman also gives the suit sonar vision, which would use cell phones to help Batman see and even pitch darkness by tapping into said cell phones and using them as microphones to broadcast a high frequency, which the suit can then use to see just about anywhere in Gotham. He can also use the sonar vision to tap into people's cell phones, so he can also use them to listen in on just what's going on in Gotham and what people are saying, which is pretty creepy. However, Lucius was not a fan of the sonar vision because he felt it was unethical, equating it to spying on millions of people whenever it was being used. So while this was cool tech, it was never really fully utilized because Lucius disagreed with his design for sonar vision being used in this manner to spy on people. And he was the only one that Bruce trusted to ethically use it. In fact, Lucius's reaction was to agree to help Batman, but only once, as he felt compelled to resign because of how this tech was going to be used. Granted, the tech had a self-destruct built in by Bruce, who knew Lucius probably wouldn't agree to using that tech all the time, and it was destroyed after the one-time use, implying that Fox stayed on and of course did not end up resigning. The plated suit also didn't provide as much protection and ended up getting Bruce injured to the point that he would need a cane. Still, a solid 3 out of 5 pouches, but I feel like speed should not be as important as the actual armor of the suit, in my mind. If Batman was like, yeah, I just want to move my neck, I'd be like, dude, I just want you to keep your neck, you know what I mean? Number 6, Mark 1. The Mark 1 Batsuit comes to us from Batman the Telltale series, an episodic-based playable novel-style video game where your choices as Batman influence the world and the story around you, meaning that you get to see what it feels like to literally be Batman. There are a few different versions of the Batsuit that we get throughout the evolution of the story and the game. The first suit you get to play with is, of course, the Mark 1, which was primarily designed by Lucius Fox. The suits in the Telltale games really should not be underestimated, by the way. The Mark 1 comes armored, of course, protecting you as Batman against gunfire and even armor-piercing bullets. Aside from that, you also get more heavily armored gauntlets to defend against incoming attacks on your exposed jawline. The suit also comes with tech that allows you to pilot and control drones, so you can plan combat strategies and get surveillance before jumping into a fight. It also comes with a voice modulator, hacking equipment, visual holographic and criminal and forensic analysis capabilities, thermal imaging, night vision, and sticky bombs. This suit gets a 3 out of 5 pouches rating from me, and that's just the first model from the game, so yeah, it also gets better from there. But I like the Mark I, so I wanted to talk about that one. Number 5, Nomex. Even though the Nomex suit was actually designed before the plated batsuit armor in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, I still actually think that this one is better and a more powerful suit overall. It offered Bruce a lot more protection when in battle. It made him almost bullet and knife proof with its Kevlar biweave. This armor was actually based on a rejected military design that, while impressive, was considered too costly by the US military for them to use, or any other military. That's how expensive it was. Obviously not an issue for Bruce Wayne though. The suit was created by Lucius Fox and would later be modified by Bruce and Alfred. For the purpose of this list, we're focusing on that modified version, which has a few key improvements that allow Batman to easily eavesdrop on conversations in the vicinity but out of earshot, an improved helmet, as the original one was defective, and a latex coating which helps to mask Batman's heat signature. The major downside with this suit is that flexibility is reduced somewhat, making Batman a bit slower in battle and preventing him from turning his head. Still, I give the Nomex suit 4 out of 5 pouches. Number 4, Prime. Obviously, one of the best suits around has to still be the Earth Prime suit. It is one of the most modern, and because it isn't restricted to the cinematic realism we often apply to films to make sure characters aren't too powerful and to also make sure things are logical for people that are watching, it can be a little bit more OP. The suit is also made of Kevlar with some titanium also thrown in the mix. It's bulletproof and also helps to protect Batman from high impact damage and blunt force trauma. So if he falls out of a window from a low-rise building, he'll likely be able to still get up and even possibly recover and continue the fight. It's also flame retardant. His mask also has a thin lead lining to protect him from X-ray powers and abilities, and includes sonar capabilities, enhanced auditory sensors, infrared, and night vision. Like the plated suit from the Dark Knight trilogy, his mask also comes equipped with defensive measures like an electrical shock or gas emissions, which help to protect Batman's secret identity should someone try to unmask him. In his utility belt, he also carries a slew of tools that we've seen him utilize over the years in battle, including a kryptonite ring gifted to him by Superman himself, just in case it should ever be needed. I give the Prime suit 4 out of 5 utility belt pouches. Lots of cool stuff in that utility belt. Number 3, Project Batman Exosuit. The Project Batman Exosuit was created for Jim Gordon when he filled in as Batman after the events of Endgame. Not only was Jim Gordon trained up and enhanced himself in order to become the newly appointed Batman, but he was also given this nifty suit to use as well. The suit had 2 layers, a very svelte undersuit, which was sleek and trim that Gordon wore, and the mechanical exosuit, which was like a small mech. This suit came equipped with live rounds, rocket launchers, and all the bells and whistles when it came to tech. It came with a neural guidance system, emergency response equipment including a defibrillator, fire and heat sonics, cannons, a retractable thermo-resist blackout visor, rocket boosters, and camouflage capabilities. It was pretty nuts. Oh, it could also just do its own thing and you didn't even have to pilot. It could be like on autopilot and also be like helping Jim Gordon while he was Batman outside of the suit as well, which is nuts. For the Project Batman suit, I gotta give it a solid 4 out of 5 pouches, because it is crazy. I mean, imagine if Batman wore that suit. That would be nuts. Like Bruce Wayne Batman, not Jim Gordon Batman, who was good, but you know, he's not Bruce Wayne. Number 2, Hellbat. Hellbat is an amazing suit of basically nanotech armor. It was created for Batman by the Justice League to help him increase his stats for battles in which he was completely outclassed. The suit is extremely durable, tough and strong, and can be summoned or dismissed at will via AI tech. The suit has cloaking capabilities, can give Batman literal wings to fly on, and can produce a powerful energy blast from its bat insignia. The downside with this suit is that it's not indestructible, and powerful enemies like Darkseid have damaged it before. It also drains Batman's metabolism when he uses it to increase his own physical abilities such as strength, toughness, or speed, so he needs to be careful as overuse of this element of the suit could actually end up resulting in his death. Still, Batman doesn't even need the Justice League to reassemble this suit after it's first made, and not only does it look cool, but it is very, very OP. I give this suit 5 out of 5 utility belt pouches. Maybe even 6, actually. It's pretty crazy. I don't know if there's a 6 on this list, but these last few, they're definitely pushing it. Number 1, Insider. The Insider was a super cool spy suit that Batman used after he returned from being MIA, but was believed dead following a battle with Darkseid, which didn't actually leave him dead, but did leave him having weird time travel adventures. It was a long story. Returning home, he decided to check in with the Bat family and see how they were doing in his absence with the care of Gotham before revealing himself, because Batman. He created a suit to help disguise himself, which had various different modes that allowed him to basically mimic the powers of various members of the Justice League to help keep his identity secret. Although he also included Batman himself in those modes, because Batman is also a member of the Justice League. And it'd be weird if he didn't. If he didn't, I feel like people might be like, maybe it's Batman pretending to be everybody else. This allowed him to maintain an air of mystery while also giving him a really powerful and cool power set with his suit. Oh yeah, and he could also fly and teleport in this suit, because why not? Couldn't teleport super far, but he could still teleport. I give this suit 5 out of 5 pouches, and some bonus Batarang style points, because it's super cool. Throw those Batarangs around.
Number 10, it's Punisher. When U.S. Marine veteran Frank Castle's family was dispatched for witnessing a mob hit, Frank vowed to avenge their deaths and become a one-man army in his personal war against crime. He became the vigilante known as the Punisher. And he's quite impressive for a regular dude. Castle is in peak physical condition and is able to access and adapt to just about any situation and turn it to his advantage, using only his skills and killer instinct. He has a very high threshold for pain, able to undergo surgery without any kind of anesthesia, and he can take multiple shots and stab wounds and continue fighting. He can even take hits from superheroes and villains with superhuman strength and just keep on going. The Punisher's reflexes are also probably some of the best of any human, able to dodge Captain America's shield and take out speedsters. Castle is also an excellent military tactician and strategist, able to create effective plans on the spot, and has repeatedly outwitted S.H.I.E.L.D., Hammer, and even the Avengers. He is a reconnaissance and survival expert, armorer and gunsmith, and a master martial artist and hand-to-hand combatant, while also being skilled at just about every type of firearm known to man. Frank was lured to the Savage Land, where he joined with other heroes to become the Savage Avengers, when hand ninjas exhumed the body of his wife and kids. The ninjas were working for Kulan Gath, who was collecting warriors to use their blood in a ritual to raise an ancient god, as we have already said. Maybe you should have left Frank out of it though. I don't know. Number 9, Daredevil. When Matt Murdock guilted himself into giving up Daredevil, Elektra started keeping a watchful eye over him. She starts acting as a vigilante in Hell's Kitchen to prove to Matt that she can fight without causing casualties and prove that she can train him to be the man he was meant to be. Eventually, when Matt gives himself up as Daredevil over to the police, Elektra takes over the mantle. Her first run-in with Savage Avengers was before this though. Elektra was undercover in the Hand when she followed them to the Savage Land. There, they were working with sorcerer Kulan Gath to collect warriors to sacrifice to a primordial god. In their second adventure, Elektra is operating as Daredevil and goes into the past with this new team of Savage Avengers in a conflict with Deathlock. I'm really liking her as Daredevil so far. Her abilities and training as an assassin make her an impressive hero to say the least. Number 8. Black Widow. A former KGB agent, Natasha Alianova Romanova, better known as Natasha Romanoff, which is way easier to say, or Black Widow, was trained by the top secret Soviet brainwashing and training program, the Red Room, to become the ultimate super spy. She defected from the Soviet Union to the US to join S.H.I.E.L.D. While in the Red Room, she was bio and psychotechnologically enhanced, giving her an unusually long lifespan and prolonged youthful appearance. In the past, she was given versions of the Super Soldier Serum, so she possesses peak level physiology, making her as strong, agile, fast, and durable as a female human can possibly be without being classified as superhuman. This also extends to her senses and immune system, which are similarly heightened to peak human levels. Black Widow is one of the top espionage operatives in the world, being one of the best information gatherers in the Marvel Universe. She's fluent in many different languages and is an expert computer programmer and hacker. She's an accomplished battle strategist and field commander and has been the leader of the Avengers and even S.H.I.E.L.D. on one occasion. So her addition to the Savage Avengers team should never be rejected. Number 7. Conan. Conan the Barbarian was born on a carnage-strewn battlefield in the hills of the western westernmost region of Chimeria. Members of his tribe encircled Fiala, his mother, to protect her while she was giving birth to Conan. The fact that he was born on a battlefield was considered amongst the Chimerians, and by me, to be an omen that Conan would grow up to be a great warrior one day. And we weren't wrong. He was one of the most accomplished swordsmen of the Hyborian Age, and is often listed alongside King Arthur, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Zorro as one of the greatest fictional sword fighters in history, which is a really cool thing to put on a resume. Conan has unusual strength, agility, and speed for just a human guy. He has lifted immense objects or enemies, even breaking the neck of a raging bull when he was still relatively young. Conan usually relies upon his lightning-fast reflexes in combat situations, and they very rarely have failed him. Through years of dealing with sorcerers, magicians, and witches, he has even developed a moderate level of resistance to magic and mind control spells, which definitely comes in handy in the first volume of Savage Avengers. While primarily known as a wandering sellsword, Conan progressively became a master tactician, leading entire armies into battle, and eventually Conan even became king of Aquilonia. Number 6. Black Knight. Born and raised in Gloucester, Massachusetts, Dane Whitman attended university, eventually obtaining a master's degree in physics, and that's not his superpower. The descendant of a long line of heroes who took up the mantle of the mysterious Black Knight, Whitman assumed the role after his uncle Nathan Garrett, who had taken up the name as a villain, perished in a battle with Iron Man. Dane became a hero, wielding the Power Lance. He has also wielded several swords, including the Ebony Blade, a powerful but cursed weapon forged from a meteorite which is capable of cutting through almost any substance, and he's even wielded Excalibur. While holding the Ebony Blade though, Black Knight is unable to be killed, even if he loses his head or something like that. Whitman also possesses the Sword of Light and Shield of Night, bestowed upon him by the Lady of the Lake. Dane Whitman has been a member of the Avengers and leader of Ultra Force, and is now the current king of Weird World, but that hasn't stopped him from his savage avenging. Number 5. Devil Dinosaur. Okay, look, he ain't on the team at all really, but he did kind of help them unintentionally, and I also really want to talk about this dino since I haven't before, so Devil Dinosaur. He's basically just a big, red, intelligent T-Rex from another universe. Not intelligent enough to talk or anything, but he understands the situations he's in, can understand human language, and even has some telepathic connection with certain characters. As for the Savage Avengers, in Volume 2, Issue 2, the Savage heroes have been sent back in time to the Hyborian era, and they end up fighting Devil Dinosaur in a coliseum. That is, until they kind of not really work together to bust out of there. He doesn't have many powers other than super intelligence and strength, but he is a Tyrannosaurus Rex, which I can imagine is very helpful. Number 4. Wolverine. This mutant needs almost no introduction, being one of the most recognizable characters in Marvel's lineup. James Logan Howlett is a long-lived Canadian mutant with the rage of a beast and the soul of a samurai. His mysterious past is filled with blood, war, and betrayal, creating one of the greatest characters Marvel has ever made. If you don't already know his powers, Wolverine has an accelerated healing factor, keenly enhanced senses, and bone claws in each hand, which were improved upon when his whole skeleton, including the claws, were coated in adamantium, one of the hardest metals on Earth. This rage-filled samurai mutant Canadian joined up with the Savage Avengers in 2020 to help fight against Cool and Gath, and he's honestly a great addition to every team he joins. So let's hear some love for Wolverine! Yeah! Woo! Okay. Moving on. Number 3. The Venom Symbiote. I say specifically the symbiote because at this time Eddie Brock and Venom were having a bit of a rough period and had separated from each other for the time being. At least that's what I've gathered from reading. Either way, alerted to the suffering of another member of his species at the hands of Cool and Gath, the Venom symbiote arrived where the future Savage Avengers were at to help Logan, the Punisher, Elektra, and Dr. Voodoo fight the eldritch god Cool and Gath was trying to summon. Exposure to the god's cosmic radiation caused the Venom symbiote to take on the form of a massive dragon, letting it hold its own against the god in combat. The symbiote would do its best to help in the fight, saving the other members of its species in the process. But he's Venom! We all know how cool he is. I don't really have to explain this to you. I hope. Number 2, Dagger. When her boyfriend Rob left for college, Tandy Bowen, a 16-year-old girl who grew up in Shaker Heights, Ohio, left home on a bus for New York City. While wandering the streets, a man tried to mug her, but she was rescued by Tyrone Johnson, a fellow runaway teen. She bought Tyrone food and the two grew to care about each other. But when a guy named Simon Marshall rounded up a bunch of the city's teen runaways offering them food and shelter, Tandy agreed to go, being kind of naive. And Tyrone went with her because he wanted to protect Tandy, which was good, because Tyrone was right to be suspicious. The runaway teens were knocked unconscious by Marshall's men and injected with an experimental substance. The two were the only teens who survived and soon developed powers. For Tandy, she can generate a form of living light, which is actually life force that she uses, most commonly, in the form of psionic light daggers, which travel wherever she wills them and which drain living beings of life force. Her light daggers also have the capacity to cure certain persons of substance addictions, which is an interesting side effect. Tandy can also project her light into Cloak's dimension to feed his quote-unquote hunger. She's unharmed when traveling through his dimension and can pass this protection to others, which leads me to the next spot. Number 1, Cloak. Tyrone Johnson is the dark half of the vigilante duo known as Cloak and Dagger. After a substance-related experiment awakened his powers, he became a living personification of darkness. Tyrone grew up in South Boston and had a really bad stuttering condition, which inadvertently caused him to be unable to save his friend's life. Tyrone ran away from the home because of the guilt of that, and he ended up in New York City's ports, desperate for food and searching for someone to rob. Instead, he found Tandy Bowen, another runaway, and ironically prevented her from being robbed. They eventually were subjected to the experimental substance that caused them to gain their powers. For Cloak, he has the ability to manipulate dark force energy and access the dimension that it comes from, which he uses to do things like creating localized fields of impenetrable darkness, creating mobile, solid tendrils of darkness, hiding in shadows, becoming intangible, pulling people into the dark force dimension, trapping them there, and teleporting himself and others by taking an interdimensional shortcut through the dark force dimension. Clearly, very useful.